The aim now is for the Blues to try and break and get in to the end zone, either through a dribble or it could be a pass into here, and they might move up and the ball goes in there into the end zone there. So the aim of the game is, if they win the ball back, can they transition and get into this end zone? Hi, my name is Loz Lok, National Coach Development Lead in the Grassroots Delivery Team. Welcome to your 6-week session plans around marking and intercepting. This is week 5 of your 6-week session program. So the game that we're going to look at today, the arrival activity, is called the escape game. Naturally, sometimes when you're delivering your sessions, you might get a couple of players that arrive early, and what we want to do is get them active straight away. So with the area set up, we're going to create some 1v1s. Now, the role of the defender, who's in blue here, is to stop the attacker from getting out of the gates and back in. Now, in the 1v1 situation, what we're looking for the defenders to do is to have a good body shape to dictate play to stop the attacker from breaking through this gate here. Now, in a 1v1 situation, can they protect the space and force them away from the gates? Now, as players naturally come, you will start putting them into the game. So let's say they've all arrived and your session started. This is how it may naturally look. So the game started. What we want the defenders to do, stop the players from getting out the gates and the attackers from getting through the gates. I've left this one here free just for some players to get success and get them to understand how it works. Now, the rules of the game: if I'm a blue, so let's look at this blue for example, they tag one yellow and that player carries on. The third yellow they tag, so they might tag this one and this one might come in and tag, then there'll be a swap of the bibs. If they're holding the bibs, that allows the transition to be quicker, and that essentially won't be the same players being the defenders all the time. What you could also do is, if the yellows, they get a point for every time they get through the gate. Once they get to 10, they shout 10 and then they become a defender, just so there's a natural transition from the game. Some adaptations for the game: we want the kids to have a ball at their feet at times. So what you could do, the players in possession of the ball, they could be dribbling the ball. With younger ones, they could be carrying the ball, they could be bouncing the ball as well. So again, it's a good way to get ball manipulation for your players, and then naturally the defenders are having that 1v1 defending and marking space, because others might be travelling in there as well. So for some players, they might have to mark 2 gates, others might be marking 1 gate. Another adaptation of the gates, you can make them bigger, so it's again more space for this player to cover, but also allowing different types of recovery runs in the 1v1 situation. As we finish the arrival activity, we're going to go into a practice called Intercept What's Next. Often players will intercept the ball, win the ball back, and then we want to encourage them to transition to go and attack. So the setup of the game, again, depending on the space that you've got, I would play a 15 by 10. The aim of the game is for the yellows to try and keep the ball, transition through, and try and score a goal once they reach this end zone. The blues are locked in these spaces. So this blue here, we've got a zone that this blue can only stay in. Okay, so the aim of this player is to move across to stop the ball from getting across through a dribble, which links back to the escape game, or a pass through to one of their players on the other side. So linking back to the coaching points that we've looked at earlier, so what we want this player here in the middle to do is to consider how they can block the ball from going into between here and here, or if the ball's going across, how they can be in a position to protect the ball from going through their middle zone. We've got to also encourage the 2 defenders here to either push into space to stop the ball from going in, or be in a position to pick up any loose balls as defenders. So we've looked at some coaching points for the blue team, who are the defenders. Now, if they win the ball, we've got to consider what they would do. So let's say the defender here has made a really good job to stop the ball from going there, and this player decides to play the ball there and the number 10 wins it, the aim now is for the Blues to try and break and get in to the end zone, either through a dribble or it could be a pass into here, and they might move up and the ball goes in there into the end zone there. So the aim of the game is, if they win the ball back, can they transition and get into this end zone here? Some adaptations, like we've done on previous weeks, using the step principle, we might make the area bigger, make it smaller. What I would do on this one, if you can, I would make it a bit wider. This will encourage play to be stretched, but also that will then encourage the players to cover more ground, as they would do in a game. As the players are getting used to cover and balance, and they're thinking of areas to mark, it will allow them to then recognise more space. The more space you get, the more opportunities the attackers get to come and attack. So if you want to really encourage your players to cover space, I will give them more space to defend. As we're getting towards the end of week 5, towards the end of the session, we'll go into a game called multi-goal footy. I've used the whole tactics board to demonstrate this game, but again, remember the group that you're working with. So with under 7s, you might use 20 by 30, and as your age groups get bigger and older, you might adapt the space using the step principle. So, makeup of the game, we're going to have 2 teams that are evenly matched in terms of numbers, so 5v5. One team who are yellow, they've got 5 goals. Now, naturally, we're not expecting you to have all these goals, so what I would use are cones to create your goals. Now, really important as well, use the same colour goals just so the players know where the goals are. How the game works, let's say the blue team are in possession of the ball. Their job is to try and score in this goal, the goal with a goalkeeper, or the 2 there. Can this player now, again, linking back to the areas that we've looked at, push up to try and get the ball back? As the ball goes in there, naturally this defender or the player out of possession will come in and mark. As the ball's going on, the ball might come across there, and this is a really good moment for this player now to come and nick the ball and intercept it and transition into attack, where on this side they've got 3 goals to aim at. So in one area there's 5, on this one there's 3. Adaptations for this, we can look at area size, we can look at the types of goals. If you're using cones, you can make them bigger or you can make them smaller depending on the players that you're working with. One of the rules that I like to do, if they score in the goal with a goalkeeper, it might be worth 3 points. If they score on the outside, so they might dribble through, they only get 1 point. So that might encourage the type of runs from your defenders, because naturally on a game day or in a match, you'd expect them to come and cover the goal, and that's where we might get that cover and balance as well. And in this 2v2 situation, again, look at the areas that we've worked on in previous weeks and how we can get moments of like this into your wider game. With more goals, it will encourage scanning, it will encourage the ball to get played into different areas, and then as defenders, they will have to make different types of movements to start protecting the goal, but also they need to consider how they work as a team to cover the 5 goals as well. In this game, we've got a zone that's marked out on both sides. The first game that you play, there's always got to be 1 defender in that zone. So it might be marked as a goalkeeper. If you don't have goalkeepers, for example, you always have to have 1 player in there. So naturally, if the ball goes in there, we come and defend. And if this team gets in here, we would need a defender in there. As the game goes on, you can have multiple players. And what I would naturally do, I'd move these spaces and allow the players to play as natural as possible. So another adaptation that I might do, rather than having goals as cones, I would have balls on top of cones. Again, there's a couple of reasons why. So sometimes what you might get is if the ball's out there and the player is travelling, they're not going to be able to hit the cone or the ball with this distance. So naturally, if I'm a defender here and that player is travelling, you're going to create that 1v1. Now, in turn, in that 1v1, you might get a player moving and that player's got 2 decisions to do. Either try and attack 1v1 and beat the player, or more often than not, they might play that ball across, which will get that natural interception opportunity for the players. So again, using the equipment that you've got, be creative on that, and by modifying it from a goal into two balls on a cone, you might get some different outcomes which link more to your session. So some considerations for match day, again, linking back to week 4, 3, 2 and 1. But for this one, what I'd always naturally try and get the players to do in a 1v1 situation, can you force them inside and encourage the opposition team to play the ball inside? As that ball happens in a game, are you able to recognise opportunities where you get that interception? So you might challenge the players for every interception they might get 2 points individually for that game. Every time they force a player inside to create that opportunity for an overload or an interception, you might give them a point for that. It's a great opportunity for your substitutes who are off to spot, and they might pick a teammate and go, right, I'm going to count how many times that they do that interception, or they encourage the ball to come in to create that 2v1. So again, linking what you do in training into the match day, that might be something that I do on a match day with my players.